I'm really excited today to show you our newest template called Litigate. So Litigate is built for a law firm or a law practice. However, it would work well for any type of business that has a website that has a fair bit of text content but also needs a beautiful design. So I'll tour you through the site and explain how some of these things were done. Litigate kind of came from us thinking about the fact that lots of our templates have big imagery, but very small blocks of text. And I wanted to do a site that had a lot of text in it as well and show users that we can still push the envelope in the design, but also keep the text still easy to read and have quite a lot of it. So a quick overview of how the site looks and works. We've got this slider on the home page, which is just kind of a slider that links to various pages through the site. Below that, we've got a few really tastefully done state buttons with transitions on them. We've also got this kind of full width grid effect going on here. And this gets a lot of questions from users, but I'll show you how we did this later on in the video. If I keep scrolling down, we've got more links to other pages and some blocks of text. And then of course, this really cool get in touch button at the top. So we've used a lot of state transitions here, but the site will work if you decide you want to remove all of those transitions. The buttons just don't look as slick and refined. So jumping to the About page, we did this timeline effect, which is something you're not really seeing in Muse. And this is just a simple composition slideshow with triggers on these buttons and the target area below. But I think it came out really nicely, and you could use this for a complete timeline about your company. Jumping to the Our People page here, we've got individual bios on our various people plus social links. And of course, as we mouse over them, we get this really tasteful animation behind. Clicking on any of these pages will bring us to an About page about that person that uses the same layout as our firm About page. The only difference here is we can click the Close button in the top left, and it drops us back to the People page. We have a news section here where you can input articles. So the news section uses, again, this full width kind of grid effect. We have one article that links to an inner detail or news detail page. So it's a similar layout, but just with a big block of text for you to include the article. And we did this really clever sidebar system with kind of a flyout panel to other articles. And let me drop back to that news page. The second one has a PDF viewer embedded in it. So I ran through this in our PDF viewer video, but if I click on this article, you can see that we get the PDF embedded right in the page using a widget that we just created. So this is a great way for you to integrate PDF documents, and then we have some sidebar options for you to click to other pages. If I jump to the areas of practice page, this page was designed to be just a very simple text-focused page. So we have the various areas of practice below. Let's click on Business Immigration. And that just goes to a page that has blocks of text arranged in a really nice way. And that's basically it on the page. So really simple internal page that you can duplicate and fill in. Lastly, we have the contact page, which of course we always include, but I think this one goes above and beyond many of our other themes in terms of the style and look of it. It's a great looking form. It functions really well. And of course, it does include a welcome page, and you've got social icons. So a beautiful template. I think one of the best out there. I've never seen a Muse site done like this. So let me walk you through working with the template and see if I can clear up some of the questions we might get. So first thing I'll do, let's open up the template in Muse. And you'll notice right away it says this document contains a link to an asset that's missing. We do get this question quite often that photos are missing from the template. We cannot, unfortunately, include any of the stock photography that we've bought for the template. It's just not licensed to be able to be redistributed to our users. However, the great thing with Muse is that if I click into a page here, the image is actually there in the preview. It's just in the assets panel, you'll see that it says here, this image of Janet, and I can actually control click on that and go to asset use to see where it's used. So it's used right there. It's missing. Now, you'll need to replace that with your own image, but it is really easy to replace because you can click control and click on this. And if you go relink, it's just going to relink it through everywhere on the site. So it's really not going to be too tough to go through and relink all of the assets through the site. That's why, though, that we can include these images. It's strictly a licensing situation, and I think you'll find that this is really common with templates you buy anywhere on the web. The next thing that you'll probably want to look at is your fonts. So on my computer, I have the fonts that we've used installed. So if I just highlight this block, it says it's called Brandon Grotesque. And the font below that, let me click off of this here and click into that, is called Museo Slab 100. When you open the template, you may not have these fonts, but they are all available on Typekit. So what you'll need to do here is go up to File and Add Remove Fonts. And when you do that, we'll just click Get Started. The Typekit tab, which is the first tab here, this is what allows you to add these fonts in. So here's Brandon Grotesque. We can add that in. And then we could search for Museo, which is also on there. Museo Slab. Okay, perfect. Let's add that in. And we click OK. So now Muse adds in these web fonts from Typekit, and the site will display all the fonts exactly as you expect. So the next thing we'll take a look at is this full width grid system. Unfortunately, Muse doesn't support this right out of the box, and well, we are hopeful that it will soon enough. For the time being, we do this using a background image. So let me show you actually what it looks like in the Finder window. So we've applied a full width image to this page, and the full width image itself has these content areas or this grid applied to it. Once it's in place, then you simply design over top. So that's how this effect was created. Unfortunately, you can't click right on this blue section and simply edit the color. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is some of these state buttons. So if I actually scroll over, or better yet, let me zoom out a little bit, you can see that we do have lots of state transition widgets on the canvas. That's what gives this template that really refined and polished feel, is having these transitions on buttons. Now, if you didn't want to use any of these, you could truly delete out all of them and the site would still work just the same. However, you wouldn't have these cool transitions between elements. I think one of the better pages to show you how these work is actually on the Our People page. So let me jump into that layout and I'll zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so this first area, which is Sal Jones, if I click on it, you can see that it's a state button, which is basically a button that has many elements within it. If I click on the states and go to the rollover state, we can see that the image behind has kind of this blown up view of Sal, and this is his suit and tie there. So the great thing is when we apply a transition to this area, we get this sort of effect, and I'll show you in the browser. So if we go to Our People and I mouse over Sal, you can see how it kind of slides in from the bottom. So what we've done here is we've applied this rollover state using a big background fill, and then we've linked up a transition to it. And the way that you can tell which transition is applied is if we look at what graphic style was used here. So we've used a graphic style called People. On the side, we've got a state transition and it says unique style People. So that's where the transition is applied. Basically, you've got this block, you've got a rollover state where we've got a big background image applied, and when we add a transition, it creates that nice effect. So again, you can replace those or get rid of them as you wish. That's all completely editable. Let's take a look at the full width slider part of this. So we've got this about page with the timeline. Now this is just done using a composition widget, which is in my opinion one of the most powerful widgets that you have in Muse. And with a composition, you always have a trigger and a target. The trigger is the area you interact with that changes something within the target. So in this composition, we can see if I just kind of click on here, we've got a composition. Then we've got various trigger areas up top, and we've got a target area down below. Now the easiest way I find to edit compositions is to go into the layers panel. And if we open up the page we're on, you can see there's a composition there. And if we open that layer, then we've got all the different targets and all the different triggers that we can simply click on and edit as we need. There's really nothing more to this. It's just a very simple widget with these two components. We just did this kind of clever repeating fill on the bottom to give it that timeline effect. However, you wouldn't need to use that if you didn't want to. Lastly, I'll just touch on some of the other versions of this site that we've included. So we do have a phone version with a really kind of stylish mobile menu that if we just click on this in Muse, it's actually a nice drop down here. And we did include also a very kind of simple tablet layout. We didn't do every page on the tablet because we know that from feedback from users, they don't necessarily go through and revise everything right within the template. So in a way, it's almost easier to copy your desktop or phone content into your tablet version later. But we did set up the basic structure for you and include a navigation and master page, as well as a home page layout that looks like this. So I think that's about it for our overview of Litigate. Again, it's a really big site. There's a lot of areas that you can use and apply to different pages, lots of layouts, lots of tricks and tips and things that are pushing Muse to do things that it's never done before. So we hope that you love this site as much as we do. And if you do have any questions or concerns working with it, as always, please don't hesitate to give us a shout and we're happy to help. Thanks again and best of luck. Cheers.